Shabbat Shalom, Hebrew Israelite family of the scattered nation of Israel. Greetings, greetings, glory and honor to the Father Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, the one that is the most high and there's none other, the one who is the father of the Messiah, Yahweh Shah, the prophet, priest, and soon returning king, planet earth, the one who is the atonement for the sins of his people, and by whom we receive perfection from the Father's righteousness. Glory and honor to Messiah Yahweh Shah and to Father Yahweh. Greetings to the 12 awakening tribes as the Bible describes us, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, awakening to who we are and coming back to our Father. Greetings to the Gentiles whose cousins will be soon annihilated, but they have escaped the wrath through the faith of the Messiah. Greetings to Sister Jillian, Akawan Banya, Sister Relaxing Your Mind, Isha Shama, and Frankie, Brother Organic Fanatic and family, Gary Joseph, Superstar and family, Yakoba, Brother Beckman and family, Brother Baldy Thorpe, J House, Yafi. Greetings to all of the family. And we are in Deuteronomy chapter 26. Very timely, as always, an important chapter. As we know, the book of Deuteronomy is called the book of the law, Dabarim. These be the words. And the reason is because this book represents the final address of Moses to the children of Israel. Moses, a Levite of the children of Israel, of the tribe of Levi, gave his final address to the nation as he had been used by the Father to lead them out of Egypt and through the wilderness into the borders of the promised land. He himself would not be permitted to cross Jordan and go into the promised land. He would be put down. He would be put to sleep. He would die prior to going into the promised land. So he, in anticipation of his impending death, he gave an address called These Be the Words to the children of Israel. And in this book, we find the history of the children of Israel, our fathers, and we'll discuss more of that as this lesson goes on. Our people, our forefathers. We discuss our history. We discuss the statutes and judgments, which teach us how to obey the Father's law. It's discussed our history, instructions on how to be obedient and teaching each other, treating each other, as well as honoring our Heavenly Father. And of course, prophecy, future prophecy, which we are the generation of the future. We are the generation of the future. In fact, let's take a look at this in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1. Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1. Daniel 12:1. Now, we have to, this is the thing, brethren, as awakened Hebrews, and that's who I am talking to, the awakened Hebrews. That's who we are. This is the thing. As an awakened Hebrew, there's certain statuses, for lack of a better word. What do I mean? As awakened Hebrews, you, by virtue of your faith alone, are completely different from the rest of the populace of planet Earth. And just by saying that statement alone, we would raise the ire of most of the populace of planet Earth. So we who are of the faith of the Messiah, which is the Father's righteousness, who also recognize our bloodline going back to Abraham, who is the forefather, the founding father of the nation by seed, by blood. We recognize this, and we are of the great minority, small, microscopic, that understand these things. So therefore, we would be looking at the word, at the Father's word, on a level that while I think it's much higher, but nobody would disagree, it is completely different than any other people of planet Earth look at this word. The way we would look at it is completely different. So, for example, and I like to use this example, as many of you already know, I like to use this example a lot. As an example, the Bible never says the term African American, does it? It never uses the term African at all, does it? Doesn't use that term to describe anyone, right? It definitely doesn't use the term African American. It uses the term black. It does do that, but it doesn't use the term African American. It doesn't say that the Hebrew Israelites of the last days are African American. It doesn't say that. So what does it do? And this is the MO of the Bible, the modus operandi, if you would excuse me. The modus operandi of the Bible is it describes someone or something or some group. And it describes it in such a way, in such detail, that really the reader only can come away with one possibility of who that the Bible is describing. For example, when we talk about a religious power that grew up out of the Roman Empire, that is run by one man, that thinks they're God, and is in the earth all the way to the end. So it's a religious power that rose out of the Roman Empire. It's not the Roman Empire. It rose out of the Roman Empire as a religious power. It has worldwide influence. And it's led by one man. So you're talking about a power that rose out of Rome that's religious. So how many powers are we talking about that arose out of Rome, that is religious, that's run by one man? How many powers is that? So you see, that's how it does. It describes something in such a way that you come away with this is only one power this could be, right? So here, with respect to the Hebrews, you're talking about a group of people that have the appearance of what Egyptians looked like 4,000 years ago. Not what Egyptians look like now, having been mixed with Europeans. What did the Egyptians look like 4,000 years ago? And how do we know that? Well, they saw pictures of Egyptians in caves and in pyramids, right? So archaeologists have went into the caves and the pyramids and they found pictures of Egyptians on the walls. And they saw that those Egyptians were melanated people. Of course, they've also dug up ancient pharaohs and found out they were melanated people. So you see that the ancient Hebrews were closely aligned in appearance with ancient Egyptians. Therefore, we can conclude they are melanated people. It also told us that part of the dispersing, and they were dispersed from their land, that they went over the rivers of Ethiopia. So they were melanated people that were running from their land or being scattered from their land. And many of them went over the rivers of Ethiopia. The word tells us that. So they looked melanated. They came in over the rivers of Ethiopia, which today we would call that Africa. Then the people of the Hamitic Sea, the Sea of Cham, sold these people, as Joel tells us, to the seed of Japhet. So when you put that all together, you have a group of people that left what was the nation of Israel. Many of them went over the rivers of Ethiopia and were dispersed to the four corners of the earth through slavery, and they were sold by the Hamitic people to the Japhet people. And then it goes into more detail, as we'll see. They were on slave ships as chattel slaves. So let me ask you, how many different people of the planet Earth fit the descriptions that say they look like the complexion of ancient Egyptians? They went over the rivers of Ethiopia into Africa to escape persecution. They were sold by the Hamitic people to the people of Japhet. They had chains on their necks and they went into slave ships, into not just slavery, chattel slavery. So how many groups of people on the entire planet Earth fit that description. There's only one, the so-called African American, or the so-called Caribbean, or the so-called Puerto Rican, or the so-called Dominican, or the so-called Haitian. You get the picture. Okay? So now that's how we know who we are. The Bible describes us. Okay? It describes us. So, that in mind, the majority of the planet Earth, it is still considered a unique understanding for somebody to know that the 12 tribes were actually Black people. It's still considered. There are people of all walks of the world that have acknowledged this. I mean, there are Asians, there are children of Shaphat, there were children of Yafet. There are people that have acknowledged that the ancient Israelites were melanated brown people. People have acknowledged that, but it's a rare thing. So most people do not acknowledge it. So when we as the awakened ones are looking at the Bible, we are understanding that we're looking at our ancestors and our history. That alone separates us from the rest of the planet. From the rest of the planet. That alone separates us. So when we're reading this Bible, we're not just reading a book about a people. We are reading about our people. We are reading about our bloodline. We are reading our history, and we're reading about our future. Y'all got that? We're reading about our future. And that is especially the part that the world is blinded on. Because they don't know who we are or won't acknowledge who we are. They don't know our history. They don't really know our history. They don't understand it. And because they don't understand who we are and they don't understand our history, they also don't know our God. They don't know our God. And if they don't know our God, they made up their own God. Therefore, they will have no understanding of our history, of our present, and for sure they won't understand our future. But we will. And that's all that really matters. That we do. That's all that really matters. The rest of it don't matter. Whether they understand it or not will be their gain or their loss, correct? Or whether they understand. When they understand our God, that's either their gain or their loss. But that's on them. For us, the word is speaking to us, about us, for us. Okay? When you have that mindset, you're reading about your forefathers and about you and about your future. You look at it completely different than everybody else. For example, let's take our friends in Islam. When you look up the word God in your concordance, there are two very similar terms. In fact, they are the same term for the word God. Not Lord in big letters, God in small letters. It is 4H430. And the word they use is a pluralized word. Elohim is plural. It's gods. Elohim, gods. Elohim. But when you look it up, you will find that there is another one that says in there H433, which is the singular term for Elohim. And do you know what that word is? Do you know how to say that word? This is how you say it. Allah. Yeah, Allah. Yes, I am saying the Muslims have that right. It is not his name. It represents deity, a God, Allah. Now, you will see oftentimes in the book the Lord God, right? Or God Lord, or, in some order, with usually the word Lord capitalized, which is YHWH, which is going like this: Allah Yahweh, the God Yahweh. So the Muslims have a title for who they call Allah, their God. Their God brought them Muhammad. And through Muhammad brought them Quran. Our Allah, Yahweh, did not do that. Yahweh only brought us words through the bloodline of Jacob, starting with Moses. Yahweh only brought us words through the bloodline of Jacob. And we're reading tonight the book called These Be the Words. The word God Almighty is Allah Shaddai, the Almighty God. So we use the term Most High, which is another term for the same thing. And the Bible uses that term as well. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High, right? Most High. We use that term. That differentiates us from the people that use the term Allah, because our God is the Most High. And he does have a name, which we have learned. See? So we know he has a name. He's not just a title. He is the Most High, because that describes him as there's nothing higher than him. And his name is YHWH. See? That's his name. And he said that. He told Moses, this is my name. Okay? And his name is described by Yah exists. Yah exists. Ahaya. Yah exists. Yahweh. Yah exists. And we, as his children, learn these things by his Spirit. Praise the Most High. As we depend on the Father's Spirit to come to us and guide us in the word that he gave our ancient fathers of the Hebrew Israelite people, he teaches us by his Spirit and conviction his name, because we are supposed to have it, because he gives it to us, because we are his. See, that's the difference between us and the rest of the population of planet Earth. He named us. He gives us his Spirit. He guides us in his word. He doesn't do that for any other people. And that's why I say we will look at it and believe it in a completely different way than the rest of the planet, because of who we are and how his word discusses us and who we are. See? So that's why you and I are always going to look at it differently than the rest of the planet. It's not like Christianity, where they believe they're going to proclaim what they're calling a gospel, and they're bringing everybody to a white Jesus, and they think they're doing what the word is telling them to do, and they won't know any better, because they're not the chosen people. Or they might be bloodline to the chosen people, but believing a doctrine of people that are not chosen. Y'all understand that? See? They're believing doctrines of people that are not chosen. In other words, they don't even know their own true heritage. But part of being awakening is learning your and my heritage. Praise the Most High. And understanding that. So, when we look at Daniel chapter 12, for example, and we read verse 1, it says, "And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people." So Gabriel is the one talking here. And he's talking to Daniel. the Hebrew Israelite of the tribe of Judah. And he's telling Daniel at that time, which we know comes in chapter 11, but at that time shall Mikael, Messiah, stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children, Daniel, of thy people. Not for thy people, Daniel, the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, thy people, Daniel, shall be delivered, everyone that is found written in the book. Now, here's another thing that would be controversial outside of us. It would be controversial. It's not controversial to us, but outside of us, for the most part, except those people from the Gentiles that have come among us, it would be controversial, I'm about to say. There has never been a people in the history of the planet Earth that has been under more persecution and trouble than the scattered Hebrews. How many of y'all agree with that? That are in this room? There's never been a people in the history of planet Earth that has never been a people that have been more oppressed, more troubled, under more persecution than the scattered nation of Israel. Nobody else. That's important as we're studying 26 tonight. That's important to understand that. Now, with that understanding, we understand when he's talking about a time of trouble such as never was, it's going to be directed at us, the bloodline, which means in the modern vernacular, it's directed at the melanated people, the black people. But look, as we have seen, we've already been under time of trouble, have we not? Have we not continuously been under a time of trouble since we became Muslim in Africa? We became Muslims in Africa. And as Muslims in Africa, we were sold by the Hamites and we were kidnapped by the children of Japhet and brought to lands that they had colonized. And we have been under persecution ever since. We're talking 400 years in the United States, but for us, it really has been well over 1,500 years and more even of persecution. So no peoples ever has had persecution like us. So when he talks about the time of trouble such as never was, and it talks about us being delivered, the time of trouble will come from the plagues. And we being delivered are from our enemies that want to kill us. And that should not be new to us. We use the United States as an example, but the examples of the United States are really any place we have been. So we've been exploited. And let me explain the exploitation. So again, I mentioned we were kidnapped from the land of the continent of Africa. We were kidnapped and we were kidnapped. See, the Polish people, the Italian people, the Spaniards, the Anglo-Saxons, the Germans, even Irish, they left their lands to come to the United States of America in search of opportunities, in search of a better life. For example, people that were under a monarchy in Britain, or they were under a monarchy in Russia, or the Spaniards, or under the Pope, they were trying to get away from that system. And they were trying to get an opportunity to become more in the land of called then the New World. But the Hebrews are not so. We did not leave the continent of Africa willingly to try to get more opportunity. We were kidnapped and sold, and we were carried to this land of opportunity to give them opportunities. Does that make sense, y'all? Have I lied yet? So we were brought here to give them the opportunity to get rich, the opportunity to prosper, the opportunity to develop and create wealth for themselves. We were not brought here to become wealthy. We were not brought here to take advantage of being free, because we weren't free. And let me also take it a bit further. So therefore, that's what you call, what they call it? Exploitation. You're being used, not giving anything, not given anything, but being used for the development of others. That's called exploitation, in case somebody didn't understand it. And during the course of time, in our sojourn in this exploitation territory, we have never been free. Oh, they've passed laws that's supposed to make us free. But in every election, there's voter suppression in every one, every election. Then they make up stories about people that are not supposed to vote to stop us from voting. Not that it mattered if we did vote, because they got already coons set up in place that if you vote for them, you still ain't getting nowhere. Soon as the Civil War was over and they had to take the chains off, the Most High, you have to give him his credit. He caused them chains to go up. The bloodiest war in American history is the Civil War, by far. More people were killed that are Americans in the Civil War than all the other wars combined. Picture that. Over 500,000 Americans were killed in the Civil War. That's the one fought over us getting out of chains. I don't care what they want to say. The Most High said, okay, it's time to take them out the chains. So we got out the chains. We had the Reconstruction period where the Civil War destroyed major cities all over what was then the United States. There was no LA at that time, okay? But there was Richmond, Virginia. There was Atlanta, Georgia. There was New Orleans, Louisiana, Jackson, Mississippi. There was Nashville, Tennessee. There was Columbia, South Carolina. All these cities were burned, destroyed, had to be redone. And we, our fathers, helped build it. This time we're getting paid, though. We're getting paid, and we started prospering. Then they started putting us in debt. That's when the debt started. You owe us money for the seed. You owe us money for this. You owe us money, and tacking on interest that they wouldn't charge each other. And from that point to now, we've been in debt. And in spite of that, in spite of all of that, we would still build Tulsa, St. Louis, Wilmington, North Carolina. We would still build what's now Central Park, Miami. We would still build it. Rosewood. And what they do then? Destroy it. Make us start all over again. So we have never been free. Never. And we're still not free. So we understand a continual system of exploitation that has been our life since we've been here. And not just us, all over, wherever we are. Same thing. Same thing. So when it talks about a time of trouble such as never was, it's not just talking about we dealing with that, because it said we're going to be delivered. So it's not us, it's our enemies that are going to face the wrath, which we know is the 7 last plagues. Also, of course, we look at Revelation chapter 7, Revelation chapter 7, and John, of course, is asked the question after he sees the 144,000, which are the Hebrews. The Bible says that. After he sees the numberless multitude with the palm branches in their hand, which is the Feast of Tabernacles for the Hebrews, he points at a specific group of people, or at least Gabriel asked him, who are these people? I'm talking about the great multitude. He's talking about specific people within them. And that's Revelation chapter 7. One of the elders, actually, the elders asked. Revelation chapter 7, beginning at verse 13 and going down to verse 17. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes? Whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, these are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore are they before the throne of Yahweh, and serve him day and night in his temple. And he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. And they shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them unto living fountains of waters. And Yahweh shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. There is no other people that fit this description than us. And among us, there is no other people like the 144,000. So you see how I say how we look at it versus how they look at it? We are the 144,000. It's coming from us. And not only that, listen, how many of y'all are descendants of slaves? If you're a descendant of a slave, that means your family was once owned from somebody else. That means your family may have suffered rape, torture, lynching, whipping. Your family might have suffered that if you were a descendant of a slave. And so who has suffered more than us and our descendants who we represent? That's who we are. We are representative of our descendants from the past. That's who we represent. Not just going all the way back to Abraham, but I'm talking about cotton fields, tobacco fields, and as my grandmama, housemaids, taking care of children for other people, the children that you fed, taking care of their little brats, while your children was home by themselves. That's who we are. So, I say all this to say, what we're going to be reading in Deuteronomy 26, Moses is going to ask them to repeat a certain thing. And this thing is going to remind them of where they come from and how they getting where they're going. And a reminder to obey Father Yah. And it is now expanded. For example, why do I say expanded? Because our forefathers were delivered out of the land of Ham, with Moses being used as the leader, correct? So our forefathers were mistreated, put it mildly, in the land of Ham. And Moses was used by Father Yah to bring us out of the land of Ham and give us a promised land. And I say it's expanded because we're just not in the land of Ham now. We're scattered in an entire worldwide system. Are we not? We're not under Egyptian rule or Mizraim rule right now. We're under Babylon rule. And it's not Babylon from Nimrod. It's Babylon in the modern sense under Christianity, under white Jesus, under a worldwide system being controlled, developed, and run by the children of Yahweh. Every aspect. And in the religious aspect, they're claiming to dwell in the tents of Shem. In the religious aspect, They're claiming to dwell in the tents of Shem. It's the entire world system. The Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places, principalities that are part of spiritual wickedness in high places. And you'd have to be blind not to understand the children of Yafet run the whole thing. Am I lying to you? Yeah. The children of Yafet control the religious side, the political side, the business side, the drug side, the entertainment side, the food side, the farm side. Am I lying to you yet? What part don't they control? Is there any part we control? Because they control the whole thing. And we have had heroes that have been raised up to try to fight for us. W.E.B. Du Bois, Frederick Douglass, Nat Turner. We've had people being raised up, Marcus Garvey, to try to help us. But you see, brethren, our deliverance, and this is the thing, I've heard people say, ain't no God coming out the sky to save us. We got to save ourselves. That's a fool's errand. If we could have saved ourselves, we would have already did it. Do you realize how many uprisings there have been since we've been in America? You know, there's been a lot. Nat Turner was not anywhere near the only uprising. There were many uprisings, many. They don't like to talk about them because they won't give us no ideas. But there was a lot of uprisings all over the country. Okay? And that's what they're so scared of. They put down everyone. See? And it's the reason is the same reason our fathers didn't deliver themselves from the land of Ham. It's the same reason that the people they call zealots wasn't successful in beating the Romans. Prophecies against us, the Father said he is going to send his king to deliver us. And he is for sure coming out the sky. You see, did they not mock Noah? And he said there was going to be a worldwide flood to destroy every living thing on the ground. Every living thing on the earth was going to be destroyed. And they did not believe that. But it came. You know, I was thinking about this today, you know, brethren. People say the earth is millions of years old. The Bible says it's only 6,000 years old. And I figured out the delta between the people that think it's millions of years old and me and think it's only 6,000 years old. I figured out the delta. You know what it is, brother? And the Most High gave me this. You ever see a person that looks way older than they are? Like you see a person and they say they're 40 years old and they look like they're 60. Or you see a person and they say they're 32 and they look like they're 52. Now, why does that happen to people? Well, because they usually live a harder life, right? Right? Sometimes drugs are involved, sometimes abuse is involved, but they live in a general sense, they're living a harder life. And that harder life causes them to do what? Age faster. And I realized because of mankind, the earth has aged faster. Because of mankind, the earth looks older than it is. Because mankind, the Bible says, have worn it down. The Bible said because they have broken the everlasting covenant, they wear the earth down. Paul says the earth moans and groans. So whereas it might only be 6,000 years old, it might look millions of years old because man has tore it up. Man has wore it down. It looks older and harder than it's supposed to. Then I thought about it and I said, but when the Father restores it, it's going to be eternally young. It will never look old again. It will never be worn down again. It's going to produce energy and power and fitness forever. And balance, it will never be thrown off balance ever again. Symmetry will be perfect. And so will we. Because we are connected to the author of the earth, Father. So then I thought about it. I said, yeah, that's why they could say it's millions of years old. They get this man-made measurement system, and people do that. They got tests to measure how old your body is. So like they can look at you and say, oh, you're either 3 years younger than your age or you're 10 years older than your age because of how you not take care of yourself or take care of yourself. They got tests to tell a person this is the age of your body. No matter how many years you actually have lived, they got an age based on what your condition is. And I say, the earth has been in a condition of living rough because of man. And therefore, she looks older. Mother Nature looks older than she really is because of how man has abused it. So we're looking forward to it being restored to the beauty of its youth, like all of us are going to be restored to the beauty of our youth. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. And even more so. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 26. Deuteronomy chapter 26. Make sure I'm in the right chapter. Yeah. I don't want to skip no chapter. Deuteronomy chapter 26. Now, this is very interesting. When you look at chapter 26 and you look at verse 1. This is Deuteronomy chapter 26, verse 1. When Moses starts off like this, it's very interesting. There's a reason for it. Let's take a look at it. In Deuteronomy 26 and verse 1. And it shall be when thou art come into the land which Yahweh thy Most High, see, Yahweh thy Allah, Yahweh thy Most High, giveth thee for an inheritance, and possess it, and dwellest therein. So Moses is saying, what I'm about to tell you is for you to do when you're in the promised land. Right? So he said, what I'm about to tell you is for you to do when you're in the promised land. When thou art come into the land, which Yahweh thy Most High giveth thee for an inheritance, and possess it. When you get the land and you're dwelling in the land, this is what you're going to do. So he's about to instruct. Now, for us, what does this mean? It means similar, but it's not. It's for when we get into instead of into the promised land, we're taking the kingdom. The disciples asked the Messiah, Master, wilt thou at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? Remember that? And then he told, when you are in the regeneration and the Son of Man, you're going to sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And he said, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So, what are we talking about? Well, when you come into the kingdom, that's what he's saying. When you come into the kingdom, okay, what are we going to do? Well, look, that thou shalt take of the first of all the fruit of the earth, which thou shalt bring of the land, of thy land, that Yahweh thy Most High giveth thee, and shall put it in a basket, and shall go unto the place which Yahweh thy Most High shall choose to place his name there. And thou shalt go unto the priest that shall be in those days, and say unto him, I profess this day unto Yahweh thy Most High, that I am come into the country which Yahweh sware unto our fathers to give us. So now, what is that? You're giving thanks, and you're bringing of the fruit of the land that he gave you, that the proof that he has fulfilled what he promised you. Okay? So you bring that to the priest. And he says, and the priest shall take the basket out of thy hand and set it down before the altar of Yahweh thy Most High, and thou shalt speak and say before Yahweh thy Most High. A Syrian ready to perish was my father, and he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few and became there a nation, great, mighty, and populous. Assyrian. Now, let's stop right here because some of y'all might be as confused as I used to be when I first read it. I said Assyrian. We weren't no Syrians. Let's explain. First off, we know that our ancestors came from Shem. Shem had several sons, but the son that we come from was Arphaxad. That is the son that is the forefather, the progenitor of Eber, where you get the Hebrews. Now, there was another son called Aram. Haram is where you get Syrians from. If you look up Haram, you will see Syrian. So the Syrians come from Haram. So where did he say we were Syrians? Why? Because that's where Abraham's brother lived, with Aram. So Abraham's brother and Abraham's the desert gangster, they live in Aram. So Jacob come out from the land of Aram, right? Where Laban was. And that's what he's saying. We were Assyrian. We came out of Syria. Because our fathers was with Laban. Y'all catching that? We came out and then we came back to the land. Remember, after he left Laban, he was in Syria. He came back to the land, and that's where he ran up with on his brother Esau. But he was on his way back to his father's house in the land of Canaan. Okay, so that's why he said Assyrian was I, showing, illustrating how low he was. Remember now, Yaakov came to Laban the Syrian with nothing. He ain't had no money. He ain't have nothing. And he worked as a field hand for Laban. And the Most High blessed him so that when he was done, he came out with substance and 12 sons and 4 wives. And his name was changed to Yaakov to Yashar-ah, right with the Most High. Yashar-ah, right with Yashar-Allah, right with the Most High. Yes. So then they went down into Egypt. First, Joseph was there, and then he went down into Egypt, 70 souls, Jacob and his 70 souls. And he's saying, we came out of there where we was 70 souls. We came out a nation with 600 plus thousand footmen, plus women and children. So we came in there with 70. We came out with over 1 million, a nation. Right? Praise the Most High. I was a Syrian. So what does that got to do with us? We were slaves, ready to perish. Were we not? We were slaves, ready to perish. And the Father brought us out. The Father first awakened us to who we are. And then he brought us out with great substance. And the Messiah came and delivered us. And our Father exacted his revenge on our enemies. And we became an eternal nation. We were a scattered nation, scattered. And he brought us back together. And we became an eternal nation. And he gave us the land that he promised us. And he made us the head of the earth and not the tail anymore. That's our story. See? He giving the story that they had when they came out of the land of Ham. But we're going to have our story, which is more worldwide. It's more bigger. It's more powerful. our story. Praise the Most High. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 26, verse 6. And the Egyptians evil entreated us. Now we know who that is. The Mizraim, they evil entreated us and afflicted us and laid upon us hard bondage. We know who that is. And we cried unto Yahweh, our Most High of our fathers. Yahweh heard our voice and looked on our affliction and our labor and our oppression. What happens in the awakening, brethren? To a person. What do we do when we awaken? We call on Yahweh. Do we not? We call on him. Because then we realize why we're in the position that we were in. We realize what happened and we call on our God. Not white Jesus. You don't go to church in Christianity. Nope. Nope. You know who you are and you start awakening to who you are and you're calling on your God, the God of your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's God, Yahweh. You call on your Father and he hears your prayers. Why does he hear you now? Because now you're turning back in repentance to him. And that's what he said. And it shall come to pass when all these things come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither Yahweh hath scattered thee, and shalt return unto Yahweh, and shalt obey his voice, thou and thy children, with all thy heart, with all thy soul. That what? That then Yahweh will turn thy captivity. That's our story. We was evil entreated. We were enslaved. What did he say? He said we were in hard bondage. Yes, we were. Still are hard bondage. And he delivered us. He awakened us, brought us back to himself, brought us to repentance through Messiah. And we come back to our God and he delivered us like he said he would. Praise the Most High. Verse 8. Wait, verse 7. And when we cried unto Yahweh our Most High of our fathers, Yahweh heard our voice and looked on our affliction and our labor and our oppression. Verse 8. And Yahweh brought us forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand. That's the time of trouble such as never was. And with an outstretched arm and with great terribleness and with signs and wonders. And verse 9. And he hath brought us into this place and hath given us this land, even a land that floweth with milk and honey. See the parallel? See, then it was local. Now it's worldwide. Time of trouble such as never was. But Daniel, that people's going to be delivered. Everyone found written in the book. Praise the Most High. The awakened ones. Praise the Most High. Verse 10. And now, behold, I have brought the first fruits of the land, which thou, O Yahweh, hast given me. And thou shalt set it before Yahweh thy Most High, and worship before Yahweh thy Most High. And thou shalt rejoice in every good thing which Yahweh thy Most High has given thee, and unto thine house, thou and the Levite and the stranger that is among you. That thing covers everybody, doesn't it? Us, the Levites, and the strangers that are among us. Covers everybody, doesn't it? And when thou hast made an end of tithing all the tithes of thine increase the third year, which is the year of tithing, and has given it unto the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat within thy gates and be filled. Well, there'll be no more fatherless. There'll be no more widows. The strangers and the Levite will have plenty. We'll all have plenty. So what we're going to do then? We're going to come and rejoice together with everything we got. Praise the Most High. Yes, indeed. Thou shalt say before Yahweh, I have brought away the hallowed things out of mine house. I also have given them unto the Levite and unto the stranger and to the fatherless and to the widow, according to all thy commandments, which thou hast commanded me. I have not transgressed thy commandments, neither have I forgotten. I have not eaten thereof in my mourning, neither have I taken away aught thereof for any unclean use, nor given aught thereof for the dead. But I have hearkened to the voice of Yahweh my Most High, and have done according to all that thou hast commanded me. So now he's saying, you have blessed me. You've taken us out of slavery. You've brought us to this land. I brought the fruit of the land. I've done what you've commanded me to do. Blessed are they. What does Revelation say? Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and enter in through the gates into the city. I have done as you have commanded me. And what is he going to say? Well done, thou good and faithful servant. What words could be better than that? Well done, thou good and faithful servant. What words that you can hear from the Messiah could be better than that? Praise the Most High. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Now he says, verse 15, look down from thy holy habitation from heaven and bless thy people, Yashar'al, in the land which thou hast given us, as thou swearest unto our fathers, a land that floweth with milk and honey. This day Yahweh thy Most High hath commanded thee to do these statutes and judgments, that thou shalt therefore keep and do them with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Thou hast avouched Yahweh this day to be thy God, and to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes, his commandments, his judgments, and to hearken unto his voice. I want you to know, avouched means you have made a declaration to obey him. So this, following this rule, these are statutes and judgments. So you came to the priest. He gave his testimony and his repentant story of where he came from. He brought the fruit of what the Most High has blessed him with since he got into the promised land. And he told the story of his deliverance. And he gave to the Levite. He gave to the poor, to the widow, to the fatherless. He gave. And he says, I have done these things. You see, brethren, one of the greatest blessings we can bless people with is to give somebody something that cannot pay you back. That's the greatest blessing. So they give somebody something and they can't pay you back. Don't look for nothing back. See, that's what they're doing here. The Levite, not supposed to pay him back. The widow, not supposed to pay him back. The fatherless, not supposed to pay him back. They help him. And it's the third year, the year of tithing, every 3 years, not every 2 weeks paycheck, like some of these thieves be doing in these churches. Now, every time you get a check, are you supposed to be giving something to some church? In fact, you're not supposed to be giving nothing to no church. But that's another story, right? But you see what I'm saying. First money you get, give the Lord his first. No, what you mean is give a pimp with deep pockets his first. That's what you really mean. Give the pimp theirs first. But no, we're not serving no pimps. We're serving the Father Yah. And the Father Yah say, give the poor what they need. Better, you should see a poor family, and you can see them. Mama working real hard. Right. Mama working real hard. She's trying to dress and clothe her children. She's a single parent. Daddy might be in jail or gone, or daddies, whatever. But, hey, can you get him a bag of groceries? Can you get that for him? I'm sure they would help. Groceries are expensive. Can you say, listen, let me have your electric bill this month? Just that 1 month. I'm sure that'll help. Or she needs a tire on her car. Maybe you could help. Something like that. Don't make it no habit, because people start, but you could see them. They're there. You see them. Or ask Yah, show me. And he will. Ask him, show me. And he will show you. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. Yes, brethren. That's really where we get a blessing. They can't pay you back. You don't want them to pay you back. You don't even want them to know your name. Just help. That's all. Very simple. It's not complicated. And you don't do it when you don't have it. I'm not talking about making yourself go broke doing it. I'm talking about you got it and you can afford to, help somebody. Okay. Y'all show you who you should help. They can't help you back. They can't give you the money back. They can't give you what you're giving. But the Most High, He remembers that. He that giveth to the poor, lendeth to Yahweh, and He will repay. Praise the Most High. Let's keep reading. Thou hast avouched Yahweh this day to be thy Most High, to walk in His ways. Those are His ways, to keep His statutes and His judgments and His commandments, to hearken unto His voice. And Yahweh hath avouched thee this day to be His peculiar people, as He has promised thee, that thou shouldest keep all His commandments, and to make thee high above all nations which He hath made, in praise and in name and in honor, and that thou mayest be an holy people unto Yahweh thy Most High, as He has spoken. Now let me tell you, I don't think I need to tell you. He don't speak of no other people like this. That's right. Do it in secret and He reward you openly. That's right. He don't speak to no other people in the Bible like this. He what? To make thee high above all nations, in honor, in name, in praise, to be a holy people. And He says this, as we are aware, several times in the book of Deuteronomy. Several times He's repeating this. So for anybody to not understand that He does have a chosen people and we are telling y'all we are it, you don't have to believe that if you don't want to. But nobody's going to look at this book and understand that like us. Because we know where we coming from. Ain't nobody else got kidnapped. Everybody else in the United States of America came from some country where they're coming here for getting ahead. We were brought here to be slaves and help them get ahead. And we've been very successful for them. We've been very successful for them. But that's all good. It ain't much longer. Let them enjoy these fruits for now. But it ain't much longer. It ain't much longer, man. See, the forefathers of Puerto Rico or Cuba or Jamaica or Haiti or Dominican Republic or any of them islands, none of them came there to get ahead. Nope, they were all kidnapped and brought there. The people that were originally there, the northern tribes, some of them survived. Most of them were murdered, killed by the disease of the people that discovered it or by their swords. Okay, most of that. But we that's there now, we was brought there to work. Yes, it did. We was brought there to work on all them islands. We was brought there to work. Okay, and once they colonized us, and we say very good. My name is John Smith. Yes, I'm master. Okay, we can leave you alone. Go back to England. Go back to Spain. Go back to France. And y'all gonna act right now. We got to come back. Oh no, master, we good. Then they colonized you, right? So you think you're Spanish. As soon as you think you're Spanish, that's the thing that kills me. Y'all don't realize they got you. They already got you. They locked you down. Locked you down. Think you English? They locked you down. They got you locked down. They could walk away and you'll still be entrapped. They ain't got to worry about it. Got you. Okay. But that's what the scary thing for them is with the awakening. We break out the cell. In the awakening, we break out the cell. And that makes them very scared. Whenever slaves break away, they don't know where Nat Turner might come from. And they get especially upset at their own cousins like John Brown. John Brown starts stirring up them N-words. We don't know what's going to happen. But see, the awakening is of the spirit. It's not of man. There's nothing they could do about that. It's of the Spirit. And it's eternal. It's an eternal power. So they had a luck. Yep. And there's nothing they could do about it. Absolutely nothing. Okay. And that's why there'll be a time of trouble such as never was. That's why we would have come out of great tribulation and washed our robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. That's why. Praise the Most High. That's why I pray. We awaken from the dry bones to become the whole house of Israel. Yes. We come from our scattered state to our gathered state, never to be scattered again. Children of the Most High, they will acknowledge you as children of Yahweh. Indeed. Praise the Most High. Well, that was chapter 26. Praise the Most High. Next is chapter 27. In the meantime, may the Most High bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you and lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, family.